Many voters are saying race relations are now worse under President Trump than they were under President Obama and other administrations. Was it Trump's fault that that's the case? Hey everybody, I'm Chad Hasty, host of the Chad Hasty Show, which airs weekday mornings, 8:30 to 11 a.m. Central Time on News Talk 95.1 FM and 790 a.m. KFYO. The Washington Examiner reporting on a Politico morning consult poll about race relations in America. The poll said 55% of voters think that things are worse now when it comes to race relations. Only 16% think things are actually improving in America. The poll said 79% of black voters think race relations are worsening, along with 60% of Hispanic voters. And among white voters, a majority, 51%, agree that things are worse under President Trump. Republicans and Democrats were split wildly on the question, as 82% of Democrats said the situation is worse under President Trump, and only 25% of Republicans agreed with that. So the question is whether or not race relations are actually worse under President Trump than they have been under someone like President Obama, or former President George W. Bush, or former President Bill Clinton, and so on and so forth. I don't know the answer to it. I don't know if race relations are worse or if we just perceive that things are worse. I think race relations were actually a lot worse back during the, what is that called? The civil rights era in the United States. I don't think things are really that bad in America, but I think things are perceived as worse now than they were under President Obama, because that's what the media wants people to believe. The media wants you to believe that things are worse now than they were under President Obama, and I don't believe that's the case. Remember, under President Obama, that's when you had Ferguson. That's when you had all these protests that broke out. Black Lives Matter launched under President Obama. Black unemployment rates were sky high. They've fallen under President Trump. But the media would have you believe that not only is President Trump racist, but that Trump supporters are racist. So, yeah, you know what? Race relations might right now be a little bit worse than they were under President Obama. But that's not President Trump's fault. I think it's the narrative being sold to the public by the media. I actually think if you get out into real America, if you talk to people, things are actually okay. People are nice to each other. People are decent with each other, not so much on social media, but person to person, things are okay. Things are good. It's when the media throws this false narrative out that Trump supporters are a bunch of racists or that Donald Trump is racist. That's when, you start seeing people get all in a huff and puff everywhere, and they start getting upset. The fact is, at least in my opinion, the fact is, race relations were a hell of a lot worse during the civil rights era in the United States, and I think they were even worse under President Obama when you had Black Lives Matter soaring, you had Ferguson, Missouri that broke out, and you had this narrative that has continued to be pushed, by the way, that white cops are hunting down young black men, which is absolutely not true. Race relations might be worse right now than they were a couple of years ago, but I think that primarily has to do with the media pushing that narrative. What do you think? Let me know in the comments section below. Tune in to the Chad Hasty Show weekday mornings, 8:30 to 11 a.m. Central Time on News Talk KFYO.